Let's go back to Durban now, where the SADC Organ on Politics, Defence and Security is currently meeting at the Chief Albert Luthuli International Conference Centre. The meeting is discussing the issue of peace and security in the region. Meanwhile, some leaders have started arriving ahead of the SADC Heads of State and Government leaders that starts on Monday. For more, we cross live to our SABC Specialist correspondent, Sophie Mokoena. Sophie, firstly, take us through what's likely to come out of the SADC Troika. What's expected?
The SADC Troika deals with issues of peace, security, and politics, and therefore we expect the Troika to give a feedback tomorrow to the media in terms of the latest developments in Madagascar. As you know that at some point in time, Troika had to intervene after the president of Madagascar was removed from office by the military, and therefore there was supposed to be an intervention by the organ as it deals with those matters. We'll get a report back in terms of how far they've gone to assist Madagascar to return to democracy. You also have the issue of the eastern part of the DRC. Actually, earlier on, I met the Foreign Affairs Minister of the DRC here at the Chief Albert Luthuli International Convention Center, and I think she was heading towards that direction where there's going to be a closed-door meeting of the Troika. Earlier on, we saw the officials representing the three countries of Troika. That is the current chair, Malawi, the outgoing chair, Tanzania, and the incoming chair, Eswatini, meeting. And this afternoon, few minutes ago, the meeting of the Foreign Affairs Ministers of Troika, that is the Foreign Affairs Minister of Malawi, Foreign Affairs Minister of Eswatini, and the representative of Tanzania got in the meeting. It's a closed-door meeting, and we'll get more information tomorrow.
Sophie, as all of this is happening, some leaders will not be attending the summit. Who are those leaders, and what are the reasons for them not attending?
Well, I think you have a situation where people have different reasons why they are not attending. Let's take, for an example, the president of the DRC. He is not attending because he is embarking on a state visit in Tanzania. That's what I was told by the Minister of Regional Migration. And also you have a situation in Zambia. You know that they are now in a process of counting the election ballots, and later they will announce results either in the next coming 2 days or so. And therefore the president of Zambia couldn't come because of elections. And of course ministers have left office. You know, just before elections you dissolve cabinet, and therefore there was no one from ministerial position to come and represent Zambia. When you look at a country like Tanzania, as I pointed out, the president of Tanzania will not be here because she will be hosting his DRC counterpart, President Felix Tshisekedi, who will be visiting that country. And lastly, you have Comoros. Comoros, because they are owing the SADC. You know that countries are paying a portion of contribution to the organization. And it looks like Comoros is in serious areas, and therefore they can't participate fully. The Malawi question, it's not clear why the president of Malawi is not attending, because he was here in South Africa. That's what I was told, that he might not be attending, and we'll see whether indeed he is not going to attend, because surprisingly, he was in South Africa. You'd recall there was an announcement that he is coming to South Africa on private business some few days ago, and therefore I really can't make sense why he is not, or he is set not to attend. But let's take a listen at what the Minister of Regional Integration of the DRC, had to say about the DRC, because Troika will also touch on the situation in the eastern part of the DRC. Let's take a listen.
As of today, there are 2 or now maybe 3 processes. The first process is between DRC and Rwanda. Just the one I have explained regarding the dates. Exactly. The second process is between the DRC and the rebel movement called M23, which is supported by Rwanda. This is a Congolese movement supported by Rwanda, because Rwanda is part of the conflict. And then this discussion is ongoing. So, as you know, we started the discussion in Doha, in Qatar.
Yes, in Qatar.
Exactly. Due to the security situation, I think the discussion now is ongoing in Switzerland. So the process is ongoing. I think not enough speed than we would like, but the process is ongoing. So internally also, President Tshisekedi a few days ago called for a national dialogue, which will invite all the different party, let's say, groups, civil society, oppositions, and the majority around the table to talk about the problems that we are sharing and find a common solution and reinforce the cohesion, the internal cohesion that we absolutely need in that period. Now we are really happy to being part of this council, especially because we finally, due to the situation we had a lot of arrears, and we finally paid them. And from yesterday, we were allowed to be fully part of the council and all the meetings. So it's a very important moment for us. So regarding the meeting, the council itself, yes, of course, we are really happy. We are really happy in what have been done here. We took more than 70, we validated more than 70 decisions that we will send to the head of states for the summit of next Monday. So I think globally it's good. So regarding the situation, the security situation, specifically in the Eastern DRC and other countries, again, we had also the chance to present an update on what happened regarding the agreement that we have signed. As you know, the conflict is mainly between DRC and Rwanda. We have signed an agreement end of last December through the facilitation of the U.S., the President of the U.S. So we also presented a very positive update coming from the DRC side, where we convinced the rebel movement, the Rwandese rebel movement, FDLR, to be part of the demobilization process. We will be represented by the Vice Prime Minister in charge of defense, because he's going in Tanzania for an official visit. So that's why he's unfortunately not coming, but he's really following every day the discussions. So we hope that as soon as the demobilization will end, this reason or this will not be used anymore. But at the same time, we hope that Rwanda will also start to remove their troops to the DRC. So this was one of the positive updates that we shared with the council, and we also shared this update at the Troika level and of course at the summit level.
So Sophie, we've heard from some of the dignitaries. What do you anticipate to happen next as in the days to come?
Tomorrow we expect President Ramaphosa to lead the leaders who would have arrived in laying a wreath to observe and respect the leaders of this country and also other regions in terms of their contribution to the establishment and the strengthening of SADC. And the other important issue is that you will see more leaders arriving tomorrow, but also on Monday morning. Some of them are likely going to arrive on Monday morning, maybe 1 or 2. But today we also saw the first arrival of a head of state, that is the president of Botswana. Duma Boko has arrived. We are going to speak to President Duma Boko on Tuesday after the summit, and I guess he will share with us the outcomes of the summit, but generally what's happening in the region, whether you talk migration, you talk of development, industrialization, but also on the continent level and at the global level. So we're looking forward for that discussion with President Duma Boko on Tuesday. As you know that we spoke to him as SABC when he got into office, and we want to look at the road he has traveled with Botswana thus far in terms of promises he made at that time. And the other important issue is that in the evening tomorrow, President Ramaphosa will host his counterparts who will be here for a gala dinner, and I think there he's going to again emphasize what he said at the SADC lecture, where he emphasized a need for the region to be united, a need for the integration to happen, industrialization, but also looking at the rare earth minerals, and lastly, the issue of migration, that leaders in this region must engage in an honest and frank discussion, but reminded South Africans and the people of this region that there's a need for South Africa and other countries to work together, because the economy of South Africa, we get a lot of contribution from the neighboring countries. As you know, that South Africa is the most industrialized country in the region, and therefore the manufacturing of this country, that sector, relies heavily on Africa to send the products to those different countries on the continent. And on Monday, then the heads of state and government will meet. They will then discuss the issues that are before them, that is industrialization, integration, use of minerals of the continent, migration, including the issues that are related to the current political climate at the global level. What is the region doing to ensure that it is self-sustainable? You know, with the Middle East crisis, all countries were caught off guard when they suddenly were struggling with oil, because we get a lot of oil in the Middle East, and we had to depend on Nigeria and Angola. Angola being a member of SADC, I think it will share some information. Look at all those corridors that were announced some years ago. How do you revive them to ensure that movement of goods and services is able to be at the level where it's supposed to be? Because when you have these instabilities around the world, the supply chain gets affected, and when you rely on supply chain outside the continent, outside the region, outside your neighboring countries, you are bound to have challenges. And I think those instabilities we saw when the war in Ukraine started, with grain and fertilizers being a problem, was a wake-up call. Now the Middle East, the issue of oil, it is a wake-up call. And I think this time around, this meeting must really, really discuss the interest of the people of this region and have a foresight and look ahead. They know even on health issues. We saw what happened during COVID-19. Now we have a situation in the DRC where the country is battling the Ebola outbreak. We are not an island. As South Africa, as Zimbabwe, as Botswana, as Tanzania, as Namibia, as Lesotho, as Malawi, Zambia, we are not, including the island nations such as Seychelles, Madagascar, and Mauritius, we can be affected. And therefore, these discussions are very, very important.
That was our specialist correspondent, Sophie Mokoena, joining us live from Durban, where preparations are also gathering pace for this 46th SADC Summit. And the Organ Troika is expected to focus on regional peace, as you've heard, and security ahead of tomorrow's meeting of heads of state and government. Sophie will continue to bring us the latest developments from the summit venue, along with our team members on the ground, who are giving us all the latest coming out of Durban.